You are filled with hate. You're filled with anger. You're so many emotions because you're dealing with grief at the same time of the loss.
Forgiving these motherfuckers is the key to my freedom. I'm willing to do it.
I just want to let you know that I forgive you. I know that you did not kill my sister, and I know that you loved my sister, and I know that my sister loved you.
Today I want to talk about forgiveness, but I specifically want to talk about the kind of forgiveness that most people say they can never give.
Okay.
You were able to forgive the person who killed your sister.
Yes.
How is that possible?
It was hard. I never thought that I would have seen that day happen,
Mm.
because you are filled with hate. You're filled with anger. You're so many emotions because you're dealing with grief at the same time of the loss, but yet, she's gone and you want to blame someone. I mean, that's what a lot of people want to do, right? When someone dies, you want to blame someone.
Yeah.
Well, I had someone to blame. And so, yeah, I had the hatred, so many emotions, and it was hard. It was so hard, and I never thought I would see the day.
I imagine it must have been.
Yeah.
So let me backtrack a little bit. If you don't mind, can you share a little bit about what happened?
Yeah. So she was in a car accident. He was driving. He was her best friend. And they were coming up on this intersection, and another vehicle is actually what struck her. And it knocked her out of the car, and she died because the car landed on her. And there was a trial because he tried saying she was driving. So he got charged with vehicular homicide. And I'm not sure if that was the only charge. I don't remember because it's been 25 years.
It's a long time.
It has.
Yeah.
But so it was an accident, though.
Yeah.
But like I said, you want someone to blame.
Yeah. And you and your sister were close?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we were pretty close. And then, as we got a little bit older, of course, she didn't like the little sister because she was my older sister. But,
Right.
she didn't like me for a few years, and I didn't like her probably. But, yeah.
Siblings, it tends to happen.
Yep, exactly. So, but we were connected, no matter how long we didn't see each other or talk to each other. When we would, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was that bond that we had, Yeah, I could tell her anything, and she could tell me anything, and there was no judgment ever.
Mm. So that loss was devastating.
To say the least. Yeah.
And it being so abrupt.
Yeah.
I imagine that, there's still a part of.
I miss her every day.
Yeah.
I think about her every day. But, I don't harbor the anger I had towards her even, for leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was mad at her too, Why didn't you change your life? Why didn't you make things right? You wouldn't have died. I mean, you go through all these because it's grief.
Yeah, the stages. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot.
And you said it was her best friend?
One of her best friends, yeah.
Yeah, that was driving, that was responsible.
Yeah.
So somebody that you presumably
I knew him too, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He got 20 years. He didn't serve the full 20. I don't remember how many he served, but he's been out for a while now.
Now, when this first happened, you had to have hated him, right? I mean, I imagine.
I did. In fact, I was working for a delivery company in a little minivan, and I saw him on his bicycle, and he rode right in front of me. He didn't see me. And all that hate and anger came out in me, and I mean, there was a thought that went through my head that hit the gas, go. And I never had a thought like that. And I didn't, of course, but
Right.
I had to process it, obviously, and be like, whoa, that was an awful thought.
Yeah.
But seeing the man who's responsible for my sister's death, and not in jail or prison yet, because they hadn't had the trial yet.
Right.
The trial was still coming up.
Right.
It was hard, that anger, that hate it was real.
Yeah.
And because you took half my heart with you, because I said it for the longest time that half my heart was buried with my sister,
Mm.
and that was hard.
Yeah. And so that initial hatred and anger, like how did that continue to like manifest
I,
and affect you?
it definitely changed who I used to be.
Mm.
Um, I
Yeah.
used to be really happy-go-lucky. I'm back to that person now, but it took a long time. But it changed my thoughts on a lot of things, and love and wanting kids. Like, after she died, I didn't want kids because I didn't want my kids going through the sibling loss, because I mean,
Right.
I know it was a distorted type of thinking, but that's what went through my head.
But it was real.
It was so
You
real.
felt it.
Yeah, and I thought, I'll never love again."
Mm.
Even though that was my sister, it was just that broken heart was so deep.
Yeah. When did that start to change for you? The idea of I'll never love again.
Well, I got pregnant
Ah,
6 months after my sister was killed.
wow.
And even then, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to fully bond and love my this child, but
Oh,
I was nervous. And as soon as she came out in the delivery room, there was no doubt that I was bonded, and my heart felt love again. It
wow.
was like it was like I was given this second chance at love again, of my heart feeling full.
That's beautiful.
It was neat,
Yeah, I had a similar experience when my daughter was born.
right?
Obviously, I didn't carry my daughter,
Doesn't
but
Yeah.
I was there when she was born. Her mom had a C-section. They brought her into the other room where I was,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so nervous, and I didn't know, like, my relationship with love was so, I was unsure.
Right.
And then I saw her, and she smiled, and all of that fear and all those insecurities went out the window in a moment, and in a moment, my heart felt full.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had C-section also. So my daughter came out not breathing.
Oh,
So that scared the heck out of me, because
yeah.
I finally got this love, and then when she started breathing, I could breathe.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
But it's so cool that that instant feeling of love is something you could never imagine until you see that child.
Yeah. It's a beautiful experience.
Yes.
Now, that sense of feeling love came back
Mm-hmm.
with your child being born,
Mm-hmm.
but that hate and that anger, was that gone at the same time too, or was that something that also continued?
It still continued, I think, because the trial, I think, was still kind of going on for him,
Yeah.
because he tried to say she was driving. I think I already said that, but it was finishing up that year when she was born. So there wasn't full closure,
Mm.
because we didn't have all the finalizations until, I think it was a couple months later, a few months later. I don't remember dates really, but I was able to go to the sentencing and get some kind of closure. I told the lawyer, I remember telling the lawyer, because she asked what the family, if they wanted to say anything, or
Right.
if they requested anything. And I said, well, I want him to say he's sorry.
Mm.
He didn't, because that'd be admitting guilt, right?
Right.
And I'm sure he didn't wanna admit guilt. And, I remember looking at him at the courtroom as we're getting ready to leave, my mom and I, and he nodded his head at me like he was saying hi. Yeah, the words I wanted to say were not good.
Yeah.
I was like, "F you. How dare you nod at me like we're friends? You killed my sister." So there was still, yeah, that anger and that resentment because, I mean, yeah, I got closure in a sense because we finally got, you know, some justice, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. You know, I watch a lot of true crime documentaries, and
Mhm.
it's like one of my favorite things, and the courtrooms, the investigations, all that. And over the years, I've always been somewhat baffled when a family of a victim stands up in court and they have an opportunity to address the person responsible for that loss. And the family would say, I forgive you, looking at this person.
Right.
And I've always been like, what? How? How could you say that? How now? Like, it's eluded me and confused me for years. With talking a little bit over the last couple days about this, there's some clarity, and we'll get to that in a bit. But I just wonder, after the trial, he's sentenced now. Was there any relief, or was that still something you held on to for years?
Boy, it's hard to think about because, having a child and raising her and dealing with some other stuff.
There's other stuff going on.
Yeah, I did. I had a lot of other things going on that I won't go into, but that I dealt with. But in the back of my head, I still cried about my sister all the time. I still missed her and my heart ached, stuff. Um, and yeah, I think I still had that resentment, that anger and hate still. It wasn't probably as strong as time went on,
Yeah,
but it was still there. Good, he's still in prison.
yeah,
Good, that's where he belongs.
yeah, yeah. I have an interesting relationship. I've shared a little with you with forgiveness. Um, for myself, undoubtedly struggle with that, but also over the years for forgiving others.
Mhm.
I grew up in the foster care, which introduced me to um, a lot of not great people who took advantage of vulnerable kids, and through my experience, I was abused, um, uh, you know, emotionally, physically, sexually. And,
Jeez.
you know, as far back as I can remember, like the only constant feeling that I remember having since childhood was
Right.
anger and hate. And it was easy to blame people. But for me, I took it almost a step further. I blamed my abusers and I hated them.
Mhm.
And then I blamed my birth parents for creating that scenario to
Right.
even take place. And then I blamed the child support services. Uh, and then I blamed the state of California.
Right.
And then I blamed the world at large for creating a society that allows this type of abuse to happen to
Right.
vulnerable children. And over the years, I held on to that. In Lord of the Rings, there's that Golem guy, and he's got this little ring. He's like, "Oh, it's my precious," and he doesn't want to give it up to anyone. It's his. And like that was my relationship with hate and anger, and I was so angry. By the time I was finally adopted, like to this beautiful, great family, it's like I had so much hate in my heart that their love I couldn't even accept it, and that hate and anger and resentment manifests into self-destructive behavior, and people would ask me like, and say like, Roman, I went to therapy throughout since I was 12 years old and been in therapy. And I'd have therapists and counselors say like, Roman, you need to let go of that hate and that anger. You need to forgive. And I remember thinking, fuck that.
Right.
Fuck that.
Right.
They don't deserve my forgiveness. Fuck them and fuck that. I'm not going to forgive. And the outcome to that was like a cancer eating away at my soul and allowed me to spiral in all areas of life and losing everything, drug addiction, jails, prison, homeless, like, all the things that we are familiar with and we hear daily. And for me, forgiveness came not from a place of wanting to fix anything in myself really, or forgive my abusers. Forgiveness came to a place where I was like desperate for anything to change in my life because I was at a point where I was ready for just life to be over.
Right.
And I said, I can't keep living this way. And if forgiving these motherfuckers is the key to my freedom, I'm willing to do it. And it was like almost instantaneously, it was like the weight of
Right.
20 plus years of holding on to that just all at once was just lifted. And it was like the freaking sky had parted and the sun finally hit my face for the first time. And it was like,
Colors and
yeah, it was like a beautiful experience. And it was like in that moment, I realized like, whoa, like just how much holding on to resentments and anger
yeah, for sure.
can just destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what was that process and journey to forgiveness like for you?
I can't give dates, can't give years. I can't give exact moments, but I had to do a lot of growing,
Hmm.
and maturing, and not in a sense of like, you're 12, you're turning 13, 14, 15, maturing. I had to do a lot of emotional maturing and a
Yeah.
lot of self discovery. A lot of, I read a lot of self help books too, you know, and I read some things. My dad and I, we've had some really deep conversations about forgiveness, and so
Wow.
you know, and it's always been said to me, forgiveness isn't for them; it's for you. Like you were just saying, you didn't forgive those guys for them. You did it because you were tired of feeling that awful feeling,
Yeah.
and um, I know that my heart definitely changed a lot when I did realize that, I forgave him because there was a little bit of a softness there, to where I didn't have that anger towards him. I didn't wish anything bad upon him. I wished good things. But it definitely changed my heart somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know where it started, where it was, but it happened and
And you felt it.
I did. And it was, yeah, it was a great feeling.
What did that, what opportunity did that forgiveness create for you?
Just to not have that knot in my chest. I mean, the knot got smaller, obviously, as the years went by,
Right.
and I had my daughter to teach me how to love. And so I was able to have a lot of different kind of love like that and building the bond with my parents so deeply. But it was like that knot went away, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
It was that, this, just that big ball of anger that everyone gets, and I didn't have that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Like I had to do a lot of reasoning.
Yeah.
I'm like, he was like one of my sister's best friends.
Right.
He loved my sister. And it was an accident. Unfortunately, accidents happen. He didn't kill her. I mean, that was not intentional. And I know my sister loved him as her best friend, you know? And so I had to really process through it all
Yeah.
and see that, she would want me to forgive him.
Mm.
And I know that because my sister had a forgiving heart.
Yeah.
She really did. I actually kind of forgot about that till now. So
Yeah, she would have wanted you to.
she would have. And I can hear her voice tell me it, So, but because she was full of love, just turmoil as well.
Yeah. As so many of us are,
Right.
and working in this field, you see
Oh,
regularly.
daily. Yeah,
That's a lot of people,
it is.
I remember too, in the recovery community, there's like so many different forms of treatment and different processes out there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I remember when I went to treatment, one of the processes that I was introduced to is like a pretty well-known uh, set of steps, and one of them being making amends.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember vividly being so, oh, hold on, I could do all of this other stuff. I could do it all and do it well, and I'm willing to. But when it comes to this part right here, I'm not quite sure. And like that kept me from progressing in my own recovery for a long time. But the moment that I sat down, and part of this amends process isn't necessarily forgiving people. It is.
But that's where your mind went to,
It's
right?
very intentional that it does that, sort of. But in it, I was forced to look at like my role in everything that I blamed others for.
Like accountability.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the harder thing for me. And you're talking about how you had to like process the death of your sister. And I remember processing my abuse. Well, what was my role in being abused? I was just a kid. I was helpless. I was vulnerable. I didn't have any fucking role. What was my role? And working with someone else, and they were able to say, well, all that happened nearly 20 years ago. Yeah, you're still holding on to it and acting like a victim, and you're allowing those things to dictate your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's your role. And I remember the instant that I was like, oh, shit.
Someone slapped you, huh?
Holy shit. Yeah, like there's so much. We're so powerful, you know? We really are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like spectrum. It's good and bad, We have a ton of power for good and a ton of power for bad. I think often like self-forgiveness is something that
Yeah,
we all across the board struggle with.
absolutely.
And being able to say, take up accountability. I fucked up. I've been holding on to this anger and this hate for so long. I fucked up. That's on me. And then being able to say, I forgive myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you on that for sure. Made my mistakes. I mean, not a perfect mom, daughter, sister, aunt. I mean, friend. I made my mistakes and I've had to forgive myself a lot of things. And some things you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
or that's hard. Ooh,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
hard. Right?
Oh, 100. I was just sharing with you in recovery. So post getting my fucking life together, I had invited my brother to my wedding, my first wedding, as a groomsman. And I wanted to make sure that like he was involved in the process, and he felt like connected. You know, him and I weren't super close, but I wanted to make he's my brother. I wanted to make sure
Okay.
he's my baby brother, be part of this process. And he was, and it was great. He was getting married a couple months later. He did not ask me to be a groomsman. He asked my daughter to be the flower girl. And I was so like petty and resentful
Right.
about that I didn't go to his wedding. Didn't bring my daughter to his wedding. Basically, like, no call, no showed his wedding,
Mm,
a special day in his
right.
life. And I remember feeling so embarrassed by that. In the moment, felt justified. Yeah, fuck him, you know?
Right.
And then, like, almost immediately afterwards, because now, like, I am mature, I am evolved, I do know better, you know? And I still have the tendency to hold on to resentment even today. And I was so embarrassed by that, and I had to go to him and apologize and ask for forgiveness and say, "Look, I was completely wrong, and I'm an asshole, and I'm a jerk, and I'm sorry." And that allowed us to have a closer relationship, and today, like, he's my closest sibling, like,
Wow.
we're tight like that. But even, like, now, like, forgiveness is difficult.
I know, and that humbling experience, right? Um, you know, I've been humbled a lot in my life, and working in recovery
Sure.
has humbled me. I've been served more humble pie than I think I'd ever had in my life, but I'm grateful for it,
Mm.
because it keeps you real.
Yeah,
Like you're telling me this quote petty story of yours that's deep for you,
yeah,
but it humbled you
absolutely.
and it matured you. It helped you evolve, and I like that word better than maturing.
Yeah,
I do like that word, so
yeah.
that's great. And it's humbling experiences, and then having to take that resentment out is hard.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of the beautiful things about our human evolution, if you will.
Right?
It's a personal journey. It's nonlinear, right?
Oh
Oh,
no.
there's ups and downs. Like I digress all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But also an opportunity to make right
Right.
where I go wrong,
Yep.
you know? And whereas my first 20 years of life, I hated everyone.
Right.
Everyone. And I could say that, like, today, there's not a single person I hold any hatred or ill will towards. We talked
Right.
a little bit
About the
about the
ill. Yeah.
difference between forgiveness and ill will,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. Yeah. My psychology professor brought that up to me. Yes.
Yeah, and what'd she say?
Oh, I can't remember exactly how she said it, but I know when you and I were kind of talking about it, it was like the forgiveness part is for us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the ill will is for them,
mm,
you know? So it's almost a forgiveness for them, just
yeah,
put with a twist, I guess,
yeah.
right?
It's kinda like, I'm gonna forgive somebody, but it has nothing to do with them.
Right.
My forgiveness is so that I don't have to carry that
Yeah.
burden anymore, and so I could set myself free.
Get rid of that ball of
Yeah,
hate and
that's
anger.
for me.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is for me.
But wishing you no ill will is saying, I forgive you. Doesn't mean you forget though. That is one thing, that I think I held on to for so long.
Yeah,
A forgiveness part is if I forgive them, then that means I forget.
no,
And I finally learned that it's not. You just have to figure out how to separate that.
mm,
And that was probably where the challenge was for me.
yeah, the wishing no ill will, and you sorta did that, right?
Mm,
With your sisters, right?
right, I did.
You extended that olive branch.
I did actually. He's been out of prison for quite a few years, and I actually found him on Facebook,
Yeah,
and I sent him a message, and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I forgive you.
mm,
I know that you did not kill my sister, and I know that you loved my sister, and I know that my sister loved you because you guys were such good friends. And I just wanted you to know this, that I know I don't blame you, you know? Um, he read the message. He didn't respond, and that was fine with me
Yeah.
because I was able to at least let him hear it from me because I think to an extent he had a little bit of respect for me because he'd known me for many years as well,
Yeah.
and so just being able to say it and know he read that made me feel actually a lot better, even though I'd let go of it a long time ago.
Sure.
Um, being able to just verbalize it,
Yeah.
in a sense, have it kind of concrete
Yep.
was
But
was even more freeing.
well, and there's got to be like a certain level of closure
Yes,
in that
absolutely.
in this saga that's lasted so long.
Yes,
Finally,
absolutely.
some closure. And back to the point, the distinction between forgiveness and no ill will, like you had already forgiven him, and this was an opportunity for you to let him know that,
No ill will, basically, without saying that because,
right?
well, it's a terminology I just kind of figuring out there. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. And it was it's a good feeling. It really is because you just think, man, so many years I wasted on that.
Yeah.
So many years.
Yeah. I think that forgiveness is kind of that path to peace,
Absolutely.
you know,
I like that path to peace for sure.
to peace.
For sure.
Because you think about like all those years that you were just holding on to that, like,
Right. I remember I had a friend tell me one time, and this is kind of when I really opened my eyes to a lot of self-discovery too, is she says, whenever the word grief comes out around you, I see your eyes change, your face change. And this was one of my really close friends, and
mm,
it hit me. And I was so grateful for that brutal honesty from her.
yeah,
And it just made me think, wow, this is so true. And it really made me look inside myself of I have lived in grief. I've survived. I've been stuck in survival mode for so many years,
yeah,
and I haven't fully lived. And I think that forgiveness piece helps you kind of go towards the living part instead of surviving.
absolutely.
So,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. I and our COO, we had been discussing grief
Mhm.
recently, and he shared something that was so beautiful, and I think it relates to this conversation a lot. He said, when you're holding on to that resentment and that anger, you're robbing yourself the opportunity to remember the good.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
once you're able to forgive, you kind of wipe that slate clean. And
Mhm.
now I can focus on remembering
The
the
good.
beautiful, the good.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I had awful dreams like that for a couple years after my sister was killed. Like awful dreams about her.
I'm sure.
Dreams of being mad at her, dreams of I won't even go into it. And I remember thinking, why can't I have good dreams about her? That now kind of makes sense that, I held on to too much anger and resentment. So that makes sense what you tell me about what Ian said. So yeah,
Yeah.
love it. And you going through what you went through and being able to forgive is just wow. I am so impressed and proud of you because that's huge. That's huge. Um, wow.
Well, I just think it's a testament of desperation, right? Like desperation
Yeah.
can lead to many opportunities for growth and change. And for me, like the right place at the right time with the right people surrounding me,
Mhm.
it was like a perfect combination for all that. And I'm supremely grateful that I've had that experience, but also for the opportunity to come and have these conversations because I think that there's so many people out there that just need a little bit of hope to know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like
That
whatever happened to you isn't okay, but you're going to be okay.
right. I always tell people, because a lot of people who don't understand grief or loss that's so deep, They say, "Get over it." And boy, that
Sure.
pisses me off because it's like, you don't get over it. And something I have told so many people is, and this is where empathy and compassion comes, is you're probably never going to get over this, but you will get through it.
Mm,
And that is something I've learned. And because I've gotten through
yeah,
this trauma, I've gotten through these traumas, and that is more important than getting over it,
totally.
and it's just, I wish people would understand that. And that's where you want to provide that hope as well, because hope is, I mean, if we don't have hope, what do we have? That's something, that's a passion of mine. And so my hope is that, people seeing that you can forgive someone in a situation like yours, like mine.
Yeah, ours,
Um,
yeah,
that
or anyone
Yeah,
else's.
anyone in these type of situations, exactly, that there is a chance for forgiveness.
Mm,
You may say right now, "Screw that. That's not me. No way will I ever do it." That's okay right now because that's your grief talking. That's your
yeah,
hurt and your anger, and you're allowed to feel that.
totally.
But I do hope
Mm,
that one day you're able to get a sense of peace by this forgiveness, you know?
beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your vulnerability,
Yeah.
your story, your authenticity, and the hope that you bring not only to the show, but each and every day that you show up. I just want to say, like, so grateful for you.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for all of our wonderful conversations we have, and I look forward to many more.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roman.
Hard truths, real conversations, and sparks of possibility from a world that's a little broken-ish. Like, comment, subscribe, follow for more. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Appreciate it. Catch you guys next time.